Hi, I'm Kiwi.
And I'm Jarad.
And we are the two gentlemen.
We are.
Jarad, I just wanted to thank you again for coming over. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, as always. It's wonderful.
Now, as friends, we're actually just having a cup of tea together and having a chat.
Yep.
But last episode, you were talking a lot about the friends you made through rugby. And it sounded to me like alcohol played a huge role in, I suppose, lubricating the wheels of that friendship.
Yep.
Or those relationships.
Yep.
How important was it to you to drink while, in company of these big groups?
It was natural. I think important. I mean, I look back thinking, was it important? I don't know. But in saying that, you do get that. And the reason I asked you in one of the early episodes was about, did you cop a hard time for not, choosing not to drink, and then obviously being vegetarian around a bunch of guys that aren't. I guess that the confidence thing of like, can I go to the bar and just order a lemonade? I can. I can do that. But you take that back to the table, and there was always that ribbing of like, were you driving tonight, mate? Or what do you got on tomorrow? Or, so it was a little bit of, banter. So having a beer in your hand or having a drink in your hand was just natural. It just happened. You had to do it. I mean, you would remember the times of, after rugby, we'd have a boat race. Do you
want to just explain what a boat race is?
So as far, I think it's, I don't know how many people know exactly what it is, but essentially it's a relay race of drinking beers. So you'd get your 4 best drinkers, and the other club you played against that day would get their 4 best drinkers, and to finish the day off, it was a race. Start at one end and work your way to the other end. And Blacktown Rugby actually was undefeated for many years.
And were you in the boat race team?
I was a proud member. Well, we're more of a squad. We trained, and that was part of the deal. That as coming up, the whilst I could play football, it was very important that I could scull a beer.
Yeah.
And the drinking culture definitely went through from when I started, and then it was almost expected and a natural thing just to be with the rugby boys, and you'd have a beer in your hand. Like, no one would drive.
Yeah.
And we were all really good in that regard.
Definitely.
Yeah. All through my years. And that's one thing, I suppose, you touched on the last episode. Would you look out for, mate? That's a given. If someone, tried to get the keys, you'd be throw them in the garden and they can get them tomorrow morning. You know? So, bit of tough love in that regard. But, no one drove. It was, it was a big night every Saturday.
Well, the thing is, you say it was a big night every Saturday. You say that we drank after the games.
Yep.
I remember in Colts, which is under 21s.
Yes.
We'd play at 10:45.
Yep.
Guys would be on it at midday.
The moment they.
But the thing is, it wasn't just midday. It was also after training on Thursday night.
Yes.
Everyone drank. The whole club.
It was
went either back to our sponsor or to another place, a tavern.
Yep.
Had a drink there. Friday night, quite often, people would drink before the game. Mm-hmm. And then Saturday, of course, from midday,
was the,
roughly all day.
That was Saturday was the, and then Sunday was the mess, and then and then you did it all again.
So look, it's, not trying to be a downer or anything, but it does sound like a lot of drinking.
Yes,
but in anyone's book, that sounds like a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
Could the rugby club have run without that alcohol?
Oh, look, I think so. Now, the time we joined that club was a very strong time in that club's history. And when I say strong, it was alcohol fueled, it was the culture, everybody would drink together. Now, we were just the right age. 5 years ago, I'm not doing that. Thursday night, Friday night.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just find it funny that you say we were at the right age when we joined when we were underage.
I repeat, we're at the right age. I won't incriminate anything anymore. But, so, I wasn't doing that 5 years ago. I was... so the club has room for family men and has room for people that don't want to drink and that don't want to do that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I saw a generational change too. A different generation coming through, and the alcohol wasn't a bigger wasn't a big thing. So our age was probably the end of that era as such. So when I got to that 30, the early 30s, 30, the new guys coming through weren't necessarily into that drinking massive amounts. Maybe that was us being old going, we used to drink more than you, blah, blah. But, like there was, the whole, every time we went out, it was all based around alcohol, and it doesn't paint a great picture, I must admit. But geez, I had a good time.
Yeah.
And I was playing footy. I had no worries. I go to work for the week, earn my money, and then piss it against the wall, essentially. but yeah, my goodness, I had some good times.
Yeah.
So,
do you think you could have had those good times without the alcohol?
With those guys, and this is no disrespect to anyone that I've ever sort of spent time with. Those guys, those friendships were forged on that alcoholic sort of existence. Our friendship isn't, and the guys that we still know from that we still associate with, that we grew up with, that wasn't forged on alcohol.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had some good nights with those fellas too, but the thing is, it's different. It's different. Like the times where those two groups would intertwine. Mm-hmm. It was interesting. It was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah,
we have quite a root system, our friendship, and so does a handful of people that we still associate with from that time. Whereas, I will always, and I say this area, I'll always have a beer with somebody that I played rugby with.
Yeah,
and respect that. But that root system of friendship is based on football and your Saturday nights.
Yeah.
So, not diminishing what it is. It's just different. It's just different. So I must stress that. Like, I still have friends from rugby that that were standing beside me at my wedding.
Yeah.
And still to this day are friends with him and good friends.
Yeah.
So once the alcohol disappears and we turn 40. Yeah, we have a few beers at their place when we go over and watch the kids jump on the trampoline or swim in the pool. But, we're not going stupid.
Yeah.
It's literally have 2 beers and drive home.
Yeah.
But yeah, the culture's still there, the alcohol culture, or whatever you want to call it, is still prevalent. I mean,
there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I'm unpacking as I'm speaking. Actually, I just stopped.
There's so many times I wanted to stop you. Of course, I need
that.
to give you that space to talk. No, not because I wanted to stop you from talking, but because I had so many questions.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can answer all of them.
But namely, I mean, I don't know if it's a male thing, but how do men bond? You talked about two things in particular there. It was alcohol and rugby.
Yep.
So it was, through, I guess, the hunt and war, which is sport in the modern age, and through, consuming alcohol.
Yep.
Which I guess think that's lowers a guard in some way.
Yeah. And I don't think you have to have rugby in that regard. Like, I mean, you look at boozy work parties. How do people...
But again, the work itself can be a kind of hunt.
Yeah, that's right.
You are still chasing that pig, and trying to kill it, and to make the money.
So
same thing.
You think, it doesn't have to be sport-based or...
but alcohol seems to be a common factor there. I mean, you mentioned having, a booze up with your mates at work.
Yeah, that's, straight away. It's like, let's go out and have drinks after work.
Let me ask the question in a different way. How many friends have you made as an adult that didn't involve alcohol?
Look, that's a good question, and on the spot, it's a hard one to answer.
I don't need an exact answer. I just wanted to put the question out there.
12. That's a lie. Look, wow. Yeah, you're right. I mean, for me, at this point in my life, it's I've reconnected with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we haven't had to have alcohol.
That's great.
Involved. And that's more reconnecting with those, like I was talking about, the friendships with strong roots.
Yeah. But those roots were already established.
They're established, yeah. So new friends. Really, like, I look at it's it's actually a question that I'm going to branch off here, and I apologise.
No need to apologise. Go for it.
So my brother has just moved to far away.
Yep.
So he's 5 hours away. He's left all his friends. He has moved with his partner and his family to another area and regional area. Now, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself with this one. I don't know if I've already said this in the previous ones, but he asked this question of me, and I didn't know how to answer him. How does a 35-year-old man make a friend in a new town that's a rural sort of town? Everyone kind of knows everyone's business, but how do you make a really good friend? Like he's looking at. Does he walk into? Here we go. Does he walk into a pub?
Again, that's alcohol
but
based.
does he want that type of person? Does he want that kind of relationship? Does he want that kind of person where you meet them over 4, 5, 6, 7 beers? Maybe, but is that the type of person you're going to take home to meet your family? How do you as a male walk up to somebody and go, "Hi, let's be friends"? I know that's really tough. And when you ask me the question, how many friends have you made recently? By myself, none. Like, yeah, we've made friends through kids going to school.
Yeah.
We made friends through that. So, but when I say we, it's me and my wife.
Yes.
Like, I haven't gone out and made a friend. Like I said, I've reconnected, but I haven't found a new friend without my wife, because me and my wife now are one. I guess that's the way it is, you know. So we come as a package, and as do most people when you meet them through. Most people, well, I shouldn't say that. It's probably wrong. There are a lot of people who are separated, but they usually come as a unit. So I like these people that I've just met, but again, the root system isn't there.
Yeah.
We've got years and years of being friends before we're even close to where I am with you, or I am with the other boys that we know. But yeah, getting back to my brother, I guess I didn't know how to answer him. I was like, here's my answer. Go join the rugby club.
Exactly.
He's like, I've got no shoulders, mate. They'll fall apart. I go, just go be a manager or something, and just go. And so he went and watched a couple of games, but it's not the same. We're touching on that whole thing of like, you're on the ground with them, you're bleeding with them,
that's it.
You're just who's this guy?
That's right.
And all they want to do is get you to play because you look like you can play, but he's obviously got an injury that doesn't allow him to, and obviously his work. If he gets injured, he can't do it. So he's in a predicament, and I know that he'd be struggling with it, like I would. I don't know how to answer that for him. I wish, maybe you have some pointers or have some advice, because I would be, what's the word? I would be in a predicament that, I worry that he's just, work home.
Yeah.
Whilst that's fine, be with your family, but when you're so far away, you haven't really got your extended family. He can ring me at any time, but I'm 5 hours away.
Yeah.
Ring Dad anytime, he's 5 hours away. So he's done that move with his partner because they want to do that move, and he's happy where he is.
Yeah.
But there's aspects that would be tough.
Yeah.
Like anything, any decision you make. But yeah, how do you make friends as a 35-year-old man who works on his own?
Yeah.
So he hasn't even got a base where he works in a team. His job is on his own. So it's a tough one.
Generally, that's how you do it, through work.
Yeah. Well, that's when you asked me, I was starting to think through work people. And again, you spend so much time with these people at work, pre-pandemic, that, like you 5 days a week, 40 hours a week or whatever it is. Yeah. They're forced on to you. Like, if you like them, that's awesome.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's too bad. Suck it up,
or
leave. But yeah, so that's the next. But then what happens? Let's go for drinks after work.
Exactly.
But that's a hard dynamic too, Like, how do I then say, oh, I've met these new to your wife then, who I was saying earlier, we are a unit now. I've met these two people. You know, I'm going to go out with them. It's like, well, who are those guys? You know, I don't know them. Are they okay? Are they good people? I don't want you, you know, to be unsafe. You know, like that. Yeah, it's all that thing of like, you know, you respect that I'm smart enough to, but you also care enough to go, well, you don't know who these people are. Yeah, you don't know.
Your brother's up against some pretty big challenges there. I mean, the question wasn't just, you know, how do you make friends as a 35-year-old man? It's how do you do it in a particular place where there's not a huge pool of people to choose from.
Correct, yeah.
That's the challenge.
Yeah. And I want him to, like, I wanted to sort of paint a picture that he's happy.
Yeah.
But he has challenges. Like, but we all do.
We all do, yeah.
But it's, you know, it's something that he's never faced because he's come from a very strong friend base.
Yeah.
So he's schoolmates. So he's 6 years younger than me. So he's sitting, you know, he's 35 years old, right? So, but his school-based mates were very strong up until, you know, 30. Then they started to drift away. Families moving away, all life, right? But, you know, for that 18 to 30, man, there was people everywhere. Like, because I lived with him, you know, throughout some of that time, and he never had a problem with having anyone around.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden he's the other way. Yeah. It's definitely worrying.
It's a real challenge for, I mean, not just men, but for women as well, just being isolated.
Yeah.
And loneliness, really. I mean, you can be in a relationship and still be lonely. There's many pillars to life. It's not just, you know, once you get married, that's it, you're set for life. There's so many things you need to be nourished by.
Yeah, and look, I'm a firm believer of, you know, not everyone's the same, so this is just my opinion, but I'm a firm believer of you need to have your time. Like, so, yes, me and my wife are a unit. We're together. But to be able just to go and do this without her here is a good thing. I think it's an outlet, and for her to go and choose whatever she wants to do as an outlet. So, you know, she plays a lot of netball, and that's without me. Like, and that's just our way of still having that independence. There's a lot of people that don't have that. Now that, I don't know if that's just, you know, going back in their life, what they saw when their parents grew up, or when they grew up with their parents, sorry, or what they envisioned a relationship to be. And that's not wrong at all, but it's not me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a believer of, you know, being able to go away with my friends for 2 or 3 days. But, you know, like, I'm sure there's people out there that don't or can't, whether it be for money or whether it be for whatever reason that their partner doesn't respect that. But that's, you know, that's the situation they're in. And then I guess that's where the loneliness might come in. Like, whilst you're constantly with someone, you could end up feeling lonely because that's the only person you're with. And if, you know, you can't go and stretch out a little bit, try things like this, like what we're doing, that can be quite sad. Yeah,
look, I think the most important relationship you can have is the one with yourself.
Yep.
And if you can't nail that, then, you know, everything else isn't going to work. Yep. The other ones just won't work.
Yep.
So, yeah, look, it's really important that everyone in a relationship or not in a relationship really works on that relationship with themselves.
Yep. Yep.
And, you know, in your brother's case, in every other man's case out there who's possibly lonely right now, you know, I really feel for them. Yep. And, you know, I live in a very busy suburb, in a very busy city.
Yep.
I work in a place with fantastic people. Yep. You know, everyone that I work with, I'd consider a friend.
Yep.
You know, I have a relationship with all of them outside of work, one way or another, whether it's, you know, texting memes to each other or, you know, hanging out. You know, I saw someone that's on maternity leave. I saw her on just yesterday, actually. So I'm very lucky in that regard. But the question of isolation is a big one. And even if you were living in a big city and you were a bit of an outcast, you don't feel like you fit in. Like, I never fit in our rugby club, as we discussed. You know, I was a, you know, non-drinking vegetarian.
On paper, that's what you were,
but... You know, I still respected everyone. We all got on. That was fine. But I guess my question to you earlier about the alcohol and about the rugby is, the crux of it is, what makes a relationship? What makes connection?
Yeah.
And if connection purely exists because of an activity or alcohol, then, you know, once that's gone, it's not really a sustainable relationship, is it? That's the question.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So you said what I was going to say in regards to sustainability. So, I find once you remove let's take rugby for example. Once you remove rugby, you still have that, oh, look what we used to do sort of chat. You can reminisce, you can go and watch younger guys play and then go, I remember when that happened, and all that sort of stuff. But that's usually with beer in your hand, because that's what you did.
Yeah.
But you remove that it's similar to school. You remove school from, you lose a lot of friends when you leave school that you thought you were your friends, and then losing, probably the wrong word, drift away because of that whole convenience thing. It's taken away from you. So then I went to rugby, where the convenience of playing rugby and then having a social life was just there, and then you remove that, and then it's like, I've got to make an effort to see this person, and they've got to make an effort to see me.
Yeah.
Then it becomes, oh, you know what, I'll catch them in a couple of weeks. And then, so the basis that you've based your friendship on, the foundation is probably a little shallower than the deep stuff that you have with the people that you've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Now, if you're willing to work on that and create new memories or new things with your kids, with a different sport or with a different podcast, you will, those foundations will get stronger.
Yeah.
And you'll have different things to talk about and sort of be around. But then rugby and drinking as you grow up becomes a little less. Doesn't happen, so you don't need to do that. So, but it has to be a conscious effort, and there has to be a switch, almost like it's like, we both need to make an effort here for this to keep going.
Yeah.
If one of us says no, whether it be subconsciously or literally says, nah, I'm busy, then that friendship's probably you're always gonna have what you had, but that friendship's probably just gonna be like, okay, that's done its time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with friendships growing apart, or like I grow up, I look at 20-year-old me and think of some of the things I did. I'm thinking, what are you doing? What were you doing? And the people that were around at that time, you probably think the same. So everyone grows up. Everyone has, and different agendas. Agendas are the wrong word, but different things to do.
Different priorities in life.
Priorities. That was what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So. I probably rambled again, but I think there might be some points in there.
I caught up with a loose acquaintance about a year and a half ago. She's the sister of a friend, actually. We were on holiday and she happens to live up that way. So it's like, hey, let's catch up.
Yep.
She's lovely. We had a great chat. And she actually said to me, oh, people who don't drink have less friends.
Right.
And she didn't realise I didn't drink at the time.
Yep.
And I said,
Yep.
well, I think that's true. I don't drink. I don't have that many friends.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. I actually don't. And I don't feel bad saying that. I don't have any insecurities about saying I don't have a lot of friends. But that's the truth. I really don't.
Okay. So you asked me, does alcohol have obviously I've gained a lot of people in my life because of that lifestyle. I may be diverting again, but I travelled briefly, and it was on a Kentucky tour. So we all know what Kentucky bus trips, it was all about partying and, basically drinking at the different pubs in different locations. So we made wonderful friends on that Kentucky tour. We're going to catch up all the time, all this sort of stuff. That lasted for a year because we ran out of things to talk about. So again, touching on the fact that, we made friends, and I'm a Facebook friends with them, whatever that's worth.
Yeah, exactly.
But, and I know that their kids are growing up, and I know what school they're going to because I see it on Facebook. But, that's a shallow friendship. We shared that time, and that was wonderful. I'm happy for sharing that time with them. But, I've got nothing to say anymore. And they're the same, and it's nothing, no ill feeling toward them, and no ill feeling from them toward me, I'm assuming. So, it's just we grew apart. Our time together is over.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No. So that concept of that person said to you, like non-drinkers don't have many friends. That might be true in quantity, but the quality of your friendships, and that's what I'm looking for now, is the quality of friendships.
Yeah.
So I'm removing the alcohol from the situation. What have I got? And I don't think we're too far apart in the amount of friends we have when you really come down to it. Like, I've got acquaintances that I used to drink with, and I love, like I said, I love the time I had with them. But they're going their direction, and I'm going my direction. But yeah, like, I don't think we're too far apart in regards to she's right what it looks like on paper, but I don't think it's that.
I've never really thought about how many friends I've got.
Yeah.
I've always been more concerned with the depth of connection. That's always been it for me.
Yeah.
And, the guys that I see and the women that I see, we can go anywhere. We can talk about anything.
Yeah.
And that's what I like.
Yeah.
And that's what I appreciate about our friendship. With this podcast, one of the reasons why I said yes was because it could go anywhere.
Yeah.
In terms of conversation, we could talk about absolutely any topic under the sun, and it wouldn't faze you at all.
Yeah.
Some people, you can't go there with them.
Yeah, correct.
And that's what I like in a friendship. I don't have a circle of friends either, and that's something I wanted to ask you about. The group dynamic. You talked about a whole bunch of rugby guys going out together wearing the same clothes.
Yeah.
Basically, you all had your rugby shirt on, and there is strength in numbers, and there is security when you feel like you're part of a pack. But on the other hand, there's a groupthink that takes over. And this happens all across society, I've noticed. Yeah. What was it like, I guess, hanging around in a big group for you?
I can't... the feeling... There must have been something released in your body, like testosterone or some kind of... that made you happy and you felt invincible.
Oxytocin.
Yeah. So get out there and Google it, guys. Maybe we're right, wrong, or otherwise. But there has to be something there that you do feel on top of the world.
Yep.
That subsides. You get the regrets. You're in this big group, and then all of a sudden everyone goes home, and for me, it was like, oh, where'd everyone go? And then you kind of feel quite vulnerable.
Yeah.
When that group removes himself, like, instantly.
Yeah.
Like, it's unbelievable. Like, even thinking back now, like, I remember just, sitting in the pub, and then all of a sudden, because you're sort of a little bit intoxicated, and you're focusing on one conversation, and then that conversation could have gone for 45 minutes, and it feels like 10 minutes, and then you turn around, and then everyone's gone, or half gone, and you're like, where did my crew go? So instantly, and then all of a sudden you have to find your way home. Like, it's like you get in a cab and you feel like you're not in the cab alone. Like, no matter what you were doing 5 minutes ago with the group of people you were with, now you're in a different situation, driving 20 minutes to get home, and like, the guy that's driving you is completely sober and doesn't know you for a bar of soap. Like, it's just the difference. It's just like, for me, it was instantaneous. Cloud nine. So I was very comfortable. Like I said, very comfortable in a group, but I always was. As a person getting older, I'm now starting to think what I looked like. Concerned about. Geez, that wasn't me naturally.
Yeah.
Like, I don't run in groups. Like, I obviously did, but I don't. Like, I'm quite individual in regards to when I'm at work. I'm solitary. I work on my own. I work in a group, but I work in a team, but I work autonomously. That's the right way to do it. But and so I'm happy to be on my own. I like being on my own. But for whatever reason, when you get around that dynamic, it just becomes 15, 20, whatever.
That's a lot of guys.
Yeah. I mean, that started to branch into, like, guys and then their partners.
Yeah.
As guys started to get girlfriends and things like that. But it was,
Look, last time we talked about how different I was compared to the rugby guys.
Yeah.
But you're not the typical rugby guy either. You're a front row forward who's very sensitive, a very caring person. You talked about how you're punching above your weight, and why she liked, your wife fell for you. Well, it's because you're a lovely person. That's why.
I appreciate that. That's nice to hear. It is nice to hear that she But she is definitely a level above. But she's a good woman.
Well, on that note, good on you, Jarad, for
Thank you. I'm cheering
for doing so well out of
of
your 20s.
Nah, I've come out all right.
Thanks, Jarad.
Thank you, mate.